free food and free meals and clothes, everything, it still isn't that deterrent. So now, after many years, they're speaking of the importance of putting back severity of punishment in the deterrence package. So that is what the Hudud were about. So, part of the abstinence from alcohol is certainly, it's actually like an ummah that abstains from alcohol to an extent that is momentous, like really remarkable. In the Muslim nation, there are Muslims who drink, but if you compare rates of drinking within the Muslim nation to other nations, it is remarkable how this killer has been contained by the Sharia. Alcohol. It's not just a killer. It's actually, it is a destroyer of life, of ethics, of values, of relationships, of everything. It is behind, a very big portion of the evil that is done in the world. I don't want to say percentages because that would be something very makeup, but a very good percentage of the evil that is done in this world, alcohol is behind it. Well, this was the funeral of one of the politicians, rightist politicians, without mentioning his name, in Europe. He was killed in a car accident because he was drunk, driving under the influence. Okay. The Sharia not only give us, that restriction, or the law to prohibit drinking, but it also, told us avoid it completely, which means stay away from it. Stay away from it is the only way you can actually combat that evil. To stay away from it completely. So here in the United States, I don't think that people really worry much about the prohibition of alcohol in the Quran. But why do they advertise 0% alcohol in such big writing here? Because even a trace amount of alcohol could result in a pregnant woman having, or a fetus in the womb having fetal alcohol syndrome, and enormous complications. Fetal alcohol syndrome is a syndrome that has enormous consequences. Deformities and mental retardation, and so much behavioral problems. Okay, so the answer was to completely avoid it, and that's the answer that the Sharia gave. Stay away from it completely. And to the point where the Prophet said 10 people, at least of Anas ibn Malik, 10 people were cursed because of wine. And he mentioned the one who drinks it, and the one who serves it, and the one who carries it, and the one who squeezes, and the one who sells, the one who buys, and so on and so forth. So that is to stay away completely from it. Okay. So now that we're done with the issue of the judiciary, or the legal laws, we said Sharia is not just about, and we will mention some of the applications, we will not talk much. There is another presentation on my website called Sharia and Health. It talks about Sharia and the well-being of man in general. So you probably want to check it out if you want. So Sharia is prosperity and progress, because oftentimes when people talk about Sharia, opponents of Sharia, they said that we'll bring about backwardness and regression and so on. Is Sharia, could Sharia, or the correct implementation of Sharia bring about backwardness and regression? Well, absolutely not. So, Sharia does not condemn wealth or prosperity. Sharia also does not tell us what to do in detail, like, in terms of the markets and different types of contracts, and different types of dealings and transactions. You make a stock market, you have mutual funds, and you have this or that. You have checking account, saving account, you have, but it's halal. We'll say that it will have certain guidelines. But it doesn't tell you not to do that. It doesn't tell you, it's not right to write a check or any of that, wiring money. So, how do we refer to this in Sharia? We refer to it in Sharia by a very basic legal maxim, which is that the default in matters of muamalat or non-worship laws or transactions, the default is permissibility. Therefore, everything is permissible until proven otherwise. And now the Sharia comes to tell you, don't go there because it is dangerous, because it is not good, it is evil. Whether or not you readily recognize it, it is evil. Short term or long term, it will bring about evil. So, three things the faqih usually looks for in a contract to say it's haram. Because the default is it's halal. So when you look for something to say otherwise, you'll be looking for three things. Riba, usury, gharar, undue risk-taking, which is the counterpart of gambling, but it is gambling in transactions, not in play, and ghadn, which is lying, cheating, harm, all forms of harm, etc. So riba, gharar, and ghadn are the three ones that would make a contract impermissible. Now, we have said this before many times. If you look at the last kind of financial note down, you will find that they basically followed the prescription of instruction, very religiously. So they did every prohibition quite religiously. They were committed to breaking all the laws of Sharia. And we're not forcing the laws of Sharia on them. But, we have still the right to say, well, what you did is haram in our Sharia, in our religion. So everything that was done from A to Z that resulted in the collapse was related to usury, undue risk-taking, and inequity.
What's the evidence? Is there hadith that says that every transactional matter, the default is permissible, permissibility?
No, there is no hadith that says that asl fi al-umur al-ibaha. It's a legal maxim. But there are ayat in a hadith that would indicate this. Not say it, but indicate it. وَالَّذِي خَلَقَ لَكُم مَا فِي الْأَرْضِ جَمِيعًا. Allah says, He is the one who created for you all that which is on the earth. So, it is all permissible. Until proven otherwise, until you're told you can't eat this or you can't eat that, or you can't do this or you can't do that. Okay, so here, not only that the Sharia protects against deviation, but also it is behind the prosperity of those mutual funds that are faith-based. This was from the Financial Times, December 28th of 05. That's when things were going well, right? We did not have the collapse yet. So when things were going well, this was the state of the Sharia-compliant mutual funds. In a year when the Standard & Poor's 500 index has notched up barely 5%, that is before we were taking the free fall, investors would have done better by investing according to the principles of the Quran. In fact, with 100 million Islamic Amana Growth Fund posting a 22% return for the year, they have pretty much beaten everyone, according to data provided by Lipper. So when things were going well, the Muslim funds were doing better. And when things went bad, this is from the Sydney Herald Tribune, Clancy Yeats, October 11th, 2008. A thriving financial sector sounds like an oxymoron these days, but there is one sector that has tongues wagging in the hubs of commerce, Islamic finance. While the Western world's financial system has been imploding, this small but rapidly growing share of world capital has weathered the storm, so it was able to stand the storm. Share markets in London and New York are a third off their peaks. Dow Jones Islamic Financials Index, in contrast, rose 4.75% in the most recent September quarter and lost a modest 7% in the previous year. Okay. So Sharia capitalist or socialist or communist? Yeah, and both. In other words, you know, in Sharia does respect the human intellect. By the way, human intellect leads the people to right decisions. Supposedly, if they are, you know, sincere and try hard, most of the time they will arrive at the right decision. If also they're not clouded by, the decision is not clouded by desires, partiality, injustices, etc. Therefore, there are some aspects of each system that are consistent with the Sharia. So Sharia is not, you know, is not a system that is completely out of this world. But many of the better aspects of capitalism and socialism are incorporated in Sharia, yet Sharia is neither one of them, nor is it a simple mixture. It is not like it took some from here. It is a separate system in and by itself, but it has similarities in certain areas with capitalism. The respect for private ownership, for instance, that is a Sharia value. There is respect for private ownership. That's a capitalist idea. It is a correct idea, and it is a Sharia value. Yet the government, for instance, looking after the interests of the poor and unfortunate, is a Sharia value. Because Umar ibn Khattab used to say to his agent, let the cattle of the one with one goat or two goats come in, you know, come into the protected state property to graze, and do not let the cattle of Uthman ibn Affan or Abdurrahman ibn Auf come in. Uthman ibn Affan and Abdurrahman ibn Auf were wealthy, they were rich, they were known to be rich. So Umar ibn Khattab said to his agent, don't let their cattle come in, but allow the one who has one or two goats to graze. You know, that is a concept, and a general concept. It's called irfaq. So the state thinks, you know, when the state thinks to first suffice the necessities of the people, all the people. Then the state thinks in their strategic planning to suffice the needs of all people. Then the state in their strategic planning considers sufficing the wants, luxuries. So daruriyat, hajiyat, tahsiniyat. First, suffice the daruriyat, necessities, then hajiyat, needs, then tahsiniyat, luxuries and wants. And that is a socialist idea, that the state will be will work for the interest of the unfortunate. That's the socialist idea. Therefore, yes, this is capitalist, this is socialist, but the Sharia is not basically a touch-up of the two. It is a different system by itself. Yet, when those systems have something good, you will not miss it in Sharia. It will be there. So, concept of Sharia and love, because, you know, that is also a concept that usually opponents of Sharia, they think that Sharia will ban, you know, love. Sharia and love. Well, Sharia actually condones love and promotes love, but love should not be limited to love between members of the opposite genders, right? That's a form of it. It is not condemned, but it is not all of it. In fact, there are higher forms of love, emotional and spiritual, such as, you know, love of the mother, love of God, and so on. There are higher forms of love that should not be downplayed. But the modern liberal society, in fact, works to downplay every form of love other than the love between members of the two genders. And in fact, it is obvious that they even want to downplay the love between the spouses in favor of the love between the non-spouses. You know, so they just want to take it to the extreme. And not only that they want to reduce the concept of love into love between two members of the opposite genders, or nowadays also not necessarily the opposite genders. But not only that they want to reduce it, but they also want to commercialize it, to make money off of it. So it is reduced and commercialized, and that is what the Sharia does not agree with. So love is much bigger than just love between a man and a woman, and it should not be commercialized. It would be made cheap if it is commercialized, commodified. So love of members of the other gender are not condemned either, but only regulated, and we have this hadith, this verse. And it is of the signs that He created for you from yourselves, mates, and dwell with in peace and tranquility, and put between you passion and mercy. So that passion is love, or love and mercy. Okay, so, but because Sharia refuses to commercialize love, do you see how Sharia saved us from, do you see what Sharia does when it is correctly implemented in the financial sector? Do you see what Sharia does when you correctly abstain from wine because of the Sharia? And this is what the Sharia did to us. You know, the fact that the countries that suffer the least from AIDS are Muslim countries is not because of our better health systems. In fact, our health systems in the Muslim countries are the worst. So when you find AIDS to be much less in Egypt than it is in Canada, for instance, you know, or the United States, where the health systems are almost impeccable. You should ask yourself why. In fact, it is not just, it is, you know, the Area 1040 that the missionaries used to refer to usually as the toughest area to spread Christianity. 1040 is 10 below the equator to 40 above the equator. That is the area that is densely populated by Muslims. From 10 below the equator to 40 above the equator. In Asia and Africa, that is the area that's densely populated by Muslims. So that area 1040, if you look at it, is the area that is having the least problem with AIDS. And that is because the Sharia told us not only to refrain from zina, but it told us to stay away from it. Like, don't go there and stop right there. It told you to have no seclusion, it told you to lower your gaze, it told you to not touch, it told you, for a woman to dress in a certain way, not wear perfume, and so on. It has certain regulations, guidelines for mingling, and so on. Do not go close, is what you need to do. There is no society that can succeed in curtailing or curbing this problem just by criminalizing the crime itself, the very crime of zina. But you have to take the right precautions as a society. That's why Allah said, nor come near to fornication. وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا الزِّنَا. That's Sharia too. Ibn Qayyim here, and I thought I would add this too because it's quite beautiful. He said, ward off passing thoughts, for if you do not, they become ideas. When it comes to zina, ward off passing thoughts, for if you do not, they become ideas. Ward off ideas, for if you do not, they become desires. Fight them, for if you do not, they become resolve and determination. And if you do not ward them off, they become actions. If you do not resist them and resist them with their opposite, they become habits, and it will be difficult for you to get rid of them. So Sharia is intellect and science. Well, the Sharia also, the opponents of Sharia want to say that the Sharia wants to suppress human intellect and progress of science, and so on and so forth. That is called projection. Projection is when you have a problem and you try to project it on others. So projection is, if I have a problem with lying, for instance, and I go to Abu Imran and tell him, you're very dishonest, because I want to project my problem on someone else. Because they have issues in their scriptures that are in conflict with science or scientific facts, they want to project this on others, and they want first to blame all religions for what they have, and not only this, some of them go an extra step to only blame the opposite religion, the other religion that doesn't have the conflict in the first place, that in fact valued human intellect, and when it ruled, human intellect prospered and thrived. So these are the four things that a Muslim may not defy. نص محكم صحيح, unabrogated authentic revelation, إجماع ثابت صريح, clear confirmed consensus, بدائل العقل, mental axioms, أوائل الحس, things perceptible by the senses. And these are from the works, this combination is my own, but it is from the works of Ghazali and Ibn Taymiyyah and Ibn Hazm and some of the greater imams. The Prophet ﷺ himself is the one who made the foundation for this concept, because he said, you know better about the affairs of your world. Therefore, when it comes to chemistry or agriculture or war tactics or this or that, the way of realizing the truth or what is correct and helpful for your progress and so on is through research, exploration, experimentation, so on. So that statement from the Prophet, reported by Muslim, from Anas and Aisha and others, is such a beautiful statement, because the Prophet ﷺ made it clear that you should not be looking, in the Quran or Sunnah for answers to biochemical problems. So when the Sharia ruled, the human progress reached its peak during the time, given the time constraints and so on, but human progress reached its peak. you have this statement here from the Intellectual Development of Europe, which is a book that is quite known to people who are particularly interested in this area of the history, or this part of the history by John William Draper. He says, "You have to deplore the systematic manner in which the literature of Europe has contrived to put out of sight our scientific obligations to the Mohammedans, or the Muslims, Iman. Surely they cannot be much longer hidden. Injustice founded on religious rancor and national conceit cannot be perpetuated forever. Brief fault in the making of humanity," says, "science is the most momentous contribution of Arab civilization to the modern world. The death of our science to that of the Arabs." And when he says Arabs, he means Muslims, because Muslims wrote in Arabic, whether they were Arabs or not. Avicenna, for instance, was not Arab. He was Uzbek, but he wrote his Qanun in Arabic. Because if you wrote in Arabic, it was accessible to all Muslims all over the world, because the educated Muslims, no matter where they lived, did understand the language. So the death of our science, the death of the Arabs, does not consist of startling discoveries or revolutionary theories. Science owes a great deal more to the Arabs, its own existence. Because his idea is that they are the ones, Muslims are the ones who came up with experimental method, without which science would have not progressed at all in the area of natural sciences such as biology and chemistry and physics and so on. So this is from the Columbia History Award, some words that will tell you of this contribution. These are words from Arabic origin: alcohol, algebra, alkali syrup. This is also from the same book, Modern Trigonometry, as well as Algebra and Geometry, are considerable measure Arab creations. This was the making of humanity. It was under the influence of the Arabian and Moorish revival of culture, and not in the 15th century that the real Renaissance took place. Spain, not Italy, was the cradle of the rebirth of Europe. But why is the Sharia so strange? So this was just like a quick overview of it. Why still is Sharia so strange? First of all, when you want to answer a question like this, you would want to say that everything that you find to be so strange is actually in the Bible as well. You know, all the things that you find to be quite strange are also in the Bible. And much more than the Quran. You see how they're covered? Well, you know, Muslim women, you know, wear those like black, white garbs. By the way, those are not Muslim. Those are Orthodox Christians, and this is Russia. And building in the background is actually a church. So why is it a problem when Muslims wear it, but not a problem when Russians, or like Orthodox Christians, wear it? Anyway. So one thing is, why is Sharia so strange still? Because other religions basically give in. Other religions bow down. And the problem is Islam doesn't bow and doesn't give in. Therefore, it is the only one that is standing on its feet in terms of religions. I mean, wasn't usury forbidden in the church until they yielded to pressure? It was always forbidden. Usury was always forbidden. And then they started to think, well, we're not going to let the Jews forever abuse us, exploit us. We will make it permissible so that we can also do that to people. So, under pressure, it's yielded. But the idea here is that Islam does not yield. And Islam is, you know, Catholicism when the Pope says right or left, it is right or left. The whole caravan moves just by the steering of the Pope. But in Islam, Abu Bakr himself would not make anything final. You know, Abu Bakr and Umar could have not made anything final, cut and dry, no further discussion. If they did not attempt it, they in fact, they are the ones who confirmed this for us, but because of this, but sometimes also our division makes us quite aggravated. But yes, certainly we take it a little bit to an extreme, and yes, certainly we're too divided. Yes, certainly there should be some more unity. But are you looking for a papal system? You're not going to have it. If you're looking for unity between Muslims, like a papal system where you have a pope and then the pyramid goes like this, you're not going to have it in Islam. It is not meant to be in Islam. It is incorrect. It is ungodly because no one receives the revelation after the Prophet ﷺ. So no one's ijtihad is favored over others just because it is his. Okay, so because Sharia did not bow, it is still the one that is standing on its feet. Therefore, it looks strange. But in reality, it is not really strange because all other religions have the same thing. The other reason why it is so strange is because of human limitations. The human mind is limited, can think short term, cannot think long term, may see some aspects of the truth, may not see the full truth. Therefore, the human can judge something as strange when it's actually not strange. When was, how often was the majority of human beings wrong? Well, quite often, the majority of human beings were wrong. In fact, the presence of various religions is a proof that the majority of human beings have to be wrong. Because if Buddhism was the correct religion, the majority of humanity missed it. If that was Islam, the majority of humanity missed it. If that was Christianity, the majority of humanity missed it. There is no religion that is the religion of the majority. If all paths lead to the same end, which is the new modern philosophy, the majority of humanity still missed it. Because the majority of humanity does not believe in that. The real followers of the different religions, forget about those interfaith, nice, cute meetings that they have and they exchange, little niceties here and there. The majority of the followers of Christianity do not believe that Islam is actually another path to the same God. And the same applies to Muslims. Okay, so human limitations is a factor. Human whims and desires and injustices, because everybody said, even the Mufti of Egypt said, without the banking system, without those interest transactions, how could we progress? How could there be prosperity? So, so it's not just the non-Muslims, it's the Mufti, the current Mufti of Egypt. Part of his, and to be fair as well, he presented his work to sort of legalize, make halal the banking transactions, and we don't need to doubt people's intentions and so on and so forth, but he prohibited it earlier, before he became the Mufti of Egypt. He could have changed his mind after he became the Mufti of Egypt based on further research and so on and so forth. Yet his position is denounced by the very, very vast majority of scholars throughout the world, and the fiqh assemblies, and the Sharia boards, and everybody. Yet even the Mufti of Egypt fell to the pressure to say, we've got to yield, we've got to conform. There would not, we need interest-based transactions to have progress and so on. Even though, people in the West are discovering the evils of that, and they're calling for lowering the interest rate all the way down to zero every time the economy goes down. But human beings are limited, and they may not see things straight. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's off topic, but does he attend the Fifth Assembly?
He does. And technically, he found some leeways to technically make it halal. Because why is exchanging, the idea here, and he went the route to really dismantle the concept of riba. So there is no more riba in the world anymore. He said that currency, cash, dollars and riyals, do not take the same ruling as gold and silver. Riba applied to gold and silver, but it doesn't apply to cash because it is not like them. Whereas the majority of Muslim scholars in the past said that gold and silver are usurious properties. There is a hadith reported by Muslim from Ubadah ibn Samit in which the Prophet ﷺ said, الذهب بالذهب, gold for gold, والفضة بالفضة, silver for silver, والبر بالبر, wheat for wheat, والشعير بالشعير, barley for barley, والتمر بالتمر, dates for dates, والملح بالملح, salt for salt, مثل بمثل, سواء بسواء, like for like, equal for equal. فإذا اختلفت هذه الأصناف فبيعوا كيف شئتم إذا كان يدا بيد. Once those kinds are different, then trade as you desire, as long as it is an immediate transaction, no deferment of one of the two properties. فمن زاد أو استزاد فقد أربى, he who offers increase or asks for increase has committed riba. Those 6 properties, the scholars say they have different positions in saying, different positions with regard to the illah, the effective cause behind those 6 properties being mentioned. Some of the scholars, the literalists, Zahiris, said that it's just 6 and that's it. Some who follow qiyas analogy, such as the 4 imams, and the majority of Muslim scholars said, no, it is the 6 and everything that's like them. But they disagreed over what's like them. So in gold and silver, the Malikis and Shafi'is said the reason, and a report from the Hanbalis also, but not the most popular, they said the reason is being prices for things. Being prices, athamaniya, being prices for things. So certainly cash would follow suit. But Abu Hanifa and the other report from Ahmed said that the reason is that they are weighable, or they are traded by weight, or the weight measures. Now, but forget about the technicality here. Forget about the technicality. If that is where the problem is, because the faqih that is astute in terms of technically astute would be able to justify his position, even if his position is, and I also want to be fair, and I do not want to doubt the intentions of any scholar. I want to be fair, but this is just, I'm not talking particularly now about this particular scholar, but in general, if you follow the technicalities with disregard to the objective of the legislator. Well, if you say that, this is not like gold and silver, but, why did Allah forbid riba? What is the wisdom behind the prohibition of riba? You have multitudes of reasons why Allah forbid riba. And if you say that cash does not take the same ruling as gold and silver, aren't you basically dismantling the whole concept of riba? Because does anyone sell and buy with gold and silver anymore? So, is that I can give Ibrahim $200 and tell them, you know, when you give them back to me, they need to be 400. Yeah, because it's dollars and not gold and silver. But wouldn't that be defeating the purpose of the legislator? Or of Allah? Yeah. It would. So you should always be cognizant of the objectives. So why does Sharia look strange? Because all other religions bowed, gave in, it didn't. So it is the only one that is still standing. Because of human limitations, because liberalism, which is a philosophy that is actually quite dominant in the world of today, started in the 16th century, end of the 16th century, in John Locke's writings, and others then was adopted by people like Voltaire. French Revolution gave it the impetus, the first impetus, confirmed the supremacy of this philosophy was the American Revolution. Because it followed, in fact, the founding fathers, they used some of John Locke's words verbatim. So the idea here is liberalism, and we don't disagree with each and everything liberalism came about with. We agree with a lot of things. They were against the ruling by the divine right. We're against ruling by the divine right. No one human has any divine rights. They were against, absolute monarchy. We're against absolute monarchy. They were against the feudal system, or something, and we're against the feudal system. But they also, because in the environment in which this particular philosophy was born, the clergy sided with the feudalists and the monarchs in suppressing the masses. Part of in the very origin and root of this philosophy is the destruction of established religion, because it is the other suppressant of human liberation. So, what is suppressing human liberation? The absolute monarchy, ruling by the divine right, the feudal system, economic injustice, can be established religion. Well, keep in mind, they did not say our established religion, but they said established religion. And that is projecting on us. That's forcing us to accept that our religion too did the same thing. When in fact, our Muslim scholars historically have always sided with the poor and unfortunate in the masses, and certainly there are scholars that are evil. The Prophet said, I think if you're for you, the most are the scholars of evil. Yet, the mainstream of the body of Muslim scholars have always sided with the people against the pirates, not vice versa, but they sort of projected this on us and forced us to accept it. So, liberalism as a philosophy has become the dominant philosophy. And even Marx's manifesto was actually a manifestation of a liberal society, but then communism became sort of an opponent or a competitor, but communism was defeated. Liberalism is the dominant philosophy in the whole world because of the dominance of the West, which is liberal. Liberalism became dominant in Japan, even in South Korea, in places that followed the West, or the footsteps of the West. So liberalism is meant to make you feel that established religion and the teachings of established religion are weird and strange and so on and so forth. So that is another reason why it may look so strange.
Sheikh, is secularism and liberalism having same
They're somewhat different, but they do overlap, but they're somewhat different. Liberalism, the focus of liberalism is human liberty, to free humanity from all constraints, including established religion. The focus of secularism is to cut the tie between the divine and the human, between the heavens and the earth, and to say that we live here. Seculum is the globe, is the planet. We live here, we manage it here. We don't need any instructions from there.
Sheikh, you didn't list that, and I may ask, is extremism in Islam and misunderstanding exactly the Sharia for some brothers, especially maybe back home, has an effect that Sharia is strange because they want it right now this way?
Well, thank you very much. I should have actually included this, because that's why I started by saying the difference between Sharia and fiqh is that fiqh is our understanding of Sharia. So my understanding of Sharia is not always the Sharia. Therefore, my application of Sharia may not even be consistent with my understanding. So sometimes Sharia looks strange to people, or they are not acceptable because of misapplication on the part of the Muslims who misapply it, or misunderstanding on the part of the Muslims who misunderstand. So Muslims have the sunnah to provide like a text. So sometimes, what they have in the scriptures does not have a text actually, because the scriptures is all they have. But the Quran for us is like a code that has actually an explanation, which is from the time of the Prophet ﷺ. It provides the context when they don't have something that provides the context. Therefore, the correct understanding has to be sought from the scholars who have encompassing knowledge. What it means in the U.S. for Muslims, all matters pertaining to religious practice, whether it's faith, etiquette, spirituality, worship. You wake up in the morning and you say, you're a dhikr, and you go to the bathroom, and you're living by Sharia from the time you wake up in the morning until the time you go to bed, and even when you're asleep. Ruling by Sharia will be ruled by Sharia in the United States. In fact, liberty and human progress, if you talk about being progressive means that you allow minorities some room to live according to their values. Sharia was the most progressive in this regard, and up until now, there is no progressive system in the world that was as progressive as the Sharia was in this particular regard, because Sharia allowed the non-Muslims, various minorities, whether Christians or Jews, to have their own court system where they live according to their values. We did not force ours on them. In their various affairs or dealings amongst each other, and laws, family laws, inheritance, and so on and so forth. So, progressive, if you want to be progressive, then you allow the minorities some room for the so-called arbitration. And arbitration saves you a lot of hassle, a lot of difficulties, and a lot of troubles. And arbitration has been implemented in places like the UK and Canada. They move a step forward and they move a step backward because of the fear of Sharia, particularly. But that is, if you want to be progressive, that is what is progressive. But that is what Sharia will mean. Yet in the various laws of the land, Muslims follow the laws of the land as long as they do not require them to give up their faith. What if they do? What if there is like a conflict that cannot be reconciled between where you live and your religion? Muslims have a mechanism for this called immigration. So they basically not going to cause you trouble. They're just going to leave. So because 6 million people will not control 300 million people. It is illogical. And the people who actually saw the seeds of fear into the hearts of people are illogical, dogmatic, irrational, and they know that they are liars, and they know that they are using this for temporary gains, and they know that it is impossible if they have the least sense or the least amount of intelligence. They know that it is impossible for 6 million people to actually control 300 million and take over and enforce their laws on them, even if they become 60. You know, because, yeah, you guys reproduce very quickly and so on. Well, even if they become 60, it is still not logical. It's quite irrational. So, and they know that it is irrational, and they still, do it for their own temporary gains. But they are causing harm to the society. They're causing less tolerance. And then when the society becomes less tolerant towards one religion, guess what? It will not be limited to that religion. The society in entirety will be less tolerant, period. So what they're doing is they're shooting themselves in the foot. Because it's a society that is made of a mosaic of cultures and religious backgrounds and so on and so forth. So when you promote intolerance within a society like this against a particular religion, it will backfire. It will not be limited to a religion, but it will backfire and cause you great harm. So what it means in the U.S. implementation of Sharia for non-Muslims? Nothing. You're not going to enforce Sharia on them. Yet, if you allow the Muslims to live according to the Sharia, doesn't the Sharia tell them to not cheat and to not lie? Well, it does. So in fact, you may benefit from the implementation of Sharia, because when a Muslim transacts with you or interacts with you in any type of transaction, the Sharia tells him to not cheat, to not lie, to not oppress, tells him all that, whether you are Muslim or not. Even when the Sharia said, that one of you not outbid the sale of his brother. When it says brother here, the Taqiyya Suki Majmu' said that it comes out because of the fact that most likely he will be transacting with his brother, but it is not legally consequential. In other words, whether it is your brother or not your brother, those values are still applicable. So the word brother here is not legally consequential, meaning if it was not your Muslim brother, you're going to still not outbid, you're going to avoid provocation, which is nudge, or the outbidding, not the outbidding in the auction, but the outbidding when the seller and the buyer have already started the deal, and then you come and ruin it by outbidding. Anyway, but when the Sharia is implemented, when Muslims apply the Sharia, it actually may bring about great benefit for you as a society. Also, if you're open-minded and you want to watch and look and benefit, there are Ivy League universities that are starting to teach Islamic finance as an alternative. If you want to benefit some open-minded people, in the Vatican, for instance, in fact, the editorial of the Vatican, of the Observatory, which is the Vatican, the official newspaper of the Vatican after the financial meltdown, the editorial said that Western banks will not be able to regain the trust of their clients unless they start to learn some of the principles of Islamic banking. This clear, and this is not, a liberal newspaper. This is the editorial of the official newspaper of the Vatican. So if you want to be open-minded, you will benefit. If you do not want to be open-minded, it's okay. But it is certainly beneficial to be open-minded. What it means to ban it is, and I'm not going to go into the fine detail here because we for the interest of time, this is the last slide, inshallah. But I'm not going to go into fine detail because there is so much that could be said. But basically, the people who want to ban it, they not only want to ban it in the non-Muslim countries, but they fight and strive so that the Sharia is never implemented even in Muslim countries. And that creates so much resentment in the Muslim countries, that creates so much animosity between Muslims in the Muslim countries and the West. And that certainly is not helpful if you're working for a world that is more civil, or a world that is more peaceful, that is more equitable, then you do not want to create that much animosity. Muslims are 1.5 billion people. They're not just going to evaporate, even if you wish. I mean, you could wish to go away, but you can't push them away. So they're just not going to evaporate, even if that's your wish. 1.5 billion people that live pretty much all over the world. It is not smart. Even if Sharia is not good, it is still not smart for you to try to suppress the will of 1.5 billion people who want to live according to their values. You will create animosity, and that will deteriorate matters further and furthermore. Now, in the non-Muslim countries, that means end of religious freedom, because Sharia is all about what we do, from time we wake up until the time we go to sleep. So it means the end of religious freedom, and end of religious freedom for the Muslims here. Would that not have an impact on the religious freedom of Christians in Muslim countries? Probably yes. Therefore, what you will be doing, even though Islam calls for justice and so on, but human reaction is human reaction. So what you will be doing is, in fact, you will be pushing the world off the cliff, where there will be no more tolerance, much more resentment, much more conflict. And if that is what you're looking for, then that is what you're looking for, but that is honestly the consequence of such a call.